Pod Candy!
A podcast about cults, crimes, and killers.
Before we begin, please listen with care. The subject matter in this podcast is violent and brutal. We will be discussing murder, the disposal of bodies, and the devastating impact on families left behind. If this is difficult for you, please take care of yourself first.
Here are the names of the victims. Sandra Castilla, Valerie Mack, Jessica Taylor, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Barthélemy, Megan Waterman, Amber Costello, and Karen Vergata. For years, the bodies of women were found along the shores of Long Island, and for years, almost nothing happened.
They were someone's daughters, someone's mothers. Most of them were sex workers, young women who went to meet a client and never came home.
Rex Heuermann was a Manhattan architect. He had a career, a house in the suburbs, a wife named Asa, a daughter named Victoria, and a stepson named Christopher. By every measure, he looked like an ordinary man.
He was anything but. As a condition of his guilty plea, he was allowed to meet one-on-one with Asa and Victoria to confess to them personally before doing it in open court.
In that meeting, Victoria asked her father if he saw his victims as someone's daughter. He told her he didn't even see them as human.
This past April, he stood in a Suffolk County courtroom and pleaded guilty to murdering 8 women, killings that spanned 17 years.
Peacock's docuseries, The Gilgo Beach Killer, House of Secrets, takes us inside that house, inside that family, in a way we've never seen before.
And we need to talk about it. Not just the killer, the victims, the failures, the questions that are still unanswered. Because there are still people found on that same stretch of beach whose killers have never been identified.
Outside my window, it's only raining. When the wind blows, I feel pain. I don't need no doctor, baby, I'm not sick. My body's been locked up, heartbroken ever since.
This is right, as Dr. John coined, it's a dooz. I was riveted. I think we all were, right? Like I couldn't stop watching. I didn't know anything about this case at all when, we decided we were going to do this. But it was we're going to get into it. We're going to have a lot, but just initially, just reaction wise off the bat, it was a very difficult watch to get through.
Yeah.
And the kid and the family's reaction to everything.
Yes. Now that is the main thing that caught me. Yes. The murders. And I do want to mention the names of all the victims toward the end. Because, they deserve to be remembered and memorialized. I didn't even know this happened either. I did hear about the Long Island Beach Killer, which is sometimes what this is called, but never looked into it. So I didn't really know about this.
Some breaking news out of Long Island, New York.
I'd like to report that we found human remains.
4 bodies wrapped in burlap dumped alongside Ocean Parkway.
The so-called Gilgo 4 were all petite women, all under 5'5", and they were all sex workers.
Police excavate an apparent serial killer's dumping ground.
The murders of 2 more women.
bringing the total number to 6.
Now to a major development in the Gilgo Beach murder case.
A 7th murder.
Find this killer before he strikes and hurts and murders someone that you love.
And then, after 13 years, this bombshell drops.
Major break in a cold case. A suspect now under arrest in connection to the unsolved Gilgo Beach murder.
Rex Heuermann, a longtime resident of Massapequa Park, Long Island.
The 59-year-old architect and father of 2.
Rex Heuermann is a demon that walks among us.
This is like a modern-day horror story.
The idea that the wife didn't know anything about what he was doing is hard to believe.
They're telling me that my husband is alleged to be some horrific serial killer. No freaking way is this man going out soliciting sex from a sex worker, killing them, and dumping them on Gilgo Beach.
They talk about how people like Rex find women to marry that are very easily manipulated, to manipulate, and very easy to coerce and to, they're not asking a lot of questions. They're not fighting with you. They're saying yes. They're very doting wives. And I think that's why Asa, and we'll get into this, was in complete denial of him being a serial killer. And Victoria, the daughter, who is, I just have so much feeling for her, and just how honest she was and how hard her life is, because she has to take on the brunt of this reputation of her father, which she has nothing to do with. And the community, just watching how they just fed and just started creating stories about how could Victoria not know? How could Asa not know? You know what? You don't always know what your husband's doing. Case in point.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you.
She's pointing to herself, everybody.
You don't always know.
Pointing to herself.
You could go 10 years without knowing.
Yeah. I liken it because we watch we talk about a lot of cults. It was definitely like it was a family cult. Yeah, it was a family cult where it's like, and I think that the most telling part of it was when the BTK killer, right, bonded, tied, or knotted. What is it? I want to call it bondage, tied, and knotted, but it's not.
Blind, torture, kill. I like the daughter. I thought she was great.
His daughter,
yeah,
was on the documentary saying this is exactly like what happened with my father, and how you do, like, what do you, like, we all haven't had a close family member that we love that has done this. It's not just murder, it's torture, it's sickening, but you still love your dad. Like, this is a question for the doctor that I'm going to ask him when he comes out of the green room, crawling out of there. How do you kind of separate, like, the love for, a parent or a sibling that does this, but also support them? Because, I mean, Asa is definitely still, to this day, I think, does not truly believe.
Totally.
Even though he told her. I don't get the sense that it does not matter to her.
It hasn't penetrated her. She doesn't know that side of him, so she couldn't possibly believe it.
Rex was not seeing prostitutes. He's a family man. He didn't do this.
Police have all of these pieces of, like, really damning evidence against Rex Heuermann. It makes you wonder if this evidence will finally make Asa believe Rex is the killer.
I would need to hear it from Rex, face to face, that he killed these girls, for me to believe it.
Stacey, I have a question for you. So why do you think that he, and again, just like the BTK killer, why do you think he didn't harm his family at all? It didn't sound like there was ever like he didn't hit them. He didn't yell at them.
No.
It sounded like he was just like the quote unquote perfect dad and perfect husband, but was a serial killer.
I think there is a sense of this idea. I mean, if you look at Dahmer didn't kill his grandma, you know what I mean? You know, you look at how he was at home. Not abusive, he wasn't yelling, he wasn't, you know, all those things. I think it's because he did have two distinct personalities. And when he was killing people, that personality, and they also said this, never overlapped. In fact, he couldn't remember when they asked him when he was back to being the dad, that he couldn't remember what he felt and why when he was killing. I feel like it's a Jekyll and Hyde situation where it's like, you know, he just can't possibly be Hyde if he's Jekyll. Right. You know what I mean? And the other way around. And I don't know, and this is what I think Dr. Jen needs to answer. If they had seen a little bit of that, would they have believed it? And how, you know, I mean, he must have really, was he smart enough to know that he was manipulating them? Was that a plan all along, that everything was fine at home and everything, he was supported, he had a cover for the rest of his life? That doesn't ring true to me. I don't think he was using them necessarily. I think he really thought he had two lives. I don't know.
Maybe that's it. Like you just go about your day. I'm an architect, and then
he's an architect.
Like maybe like it's almost like a drug addict or an alcoholic, where you can't wait for it's like it's coming up. I know I'm gonna get high. Yes, I'm at work, but you know what? This weekend. I'm going to go score drugs and I'm going to get, and it's something to look forward to. So you know what? My family's going out of town. They're going to be out of town so I can murder this weekend. And that's going to make me feel better. And then
it's my therapy.
Squelches. Yeah.
The fact that he could compartmentalize the murders and he had a process that lasted 4 days makes it seem obviously premeditated. But also the other part of his life was not that way. But he would definitely go to vacations late, so he knew he was doing something. The 4-day process of killing somebody is so crazy.
Yeah.
He would pursue with a kill, which was planned because he set up his house for it prior. So he met them once, he got to know them, had a transaction, set up a second time, and had his 4-day plan. Day 1 was the prep, which he cleaned the entire basement, and he would prepare for his time with them in the house. The second day, he's with the victim, which he says was always very enjoyable, and he was very kind until they were going to be murdered. And then a lot of it was the post-mortem, his playtime, and that night was the dump. The third day was his cleanup day. He had to take every single thing he used, tools, tarps, clothes, everything, and he would dispose of it. So there was in his mind no evidence. He would say, well, day 4 is in case of emergencies. I just need the extra day. It's a 4-day high. It's a 4-day adrenaline rush. And then he'd fly out to his family.
And over time, he would try to perfect his process.
Exactly. He told me that he would take a stopwatch before he would dump a body at Gilgo Beach. And he went from his first kill, 2 minutes and 32 seconds, to his last kill at Gilgo. He would hit the timer, dump the body, get back in the truck, and hit the timer again. 37 seconds. He's so meticulous, detail-oriented, pathological, control, domination. He had to beat himself at his own game. Clearly, he enjoyed killing, and it became a sickness for him. It became an outlet. It became an obsession.
What do you think of his house? The fact that it was a mess. Like, even before the FBI came in and raided it. That, like, how do you live in...
I don't know.
He must have made money, right? Or he bought...
he was I know what I was going to say. He
bought all those 200 guns, so maybe he spent it all
200 guns, and he's an architect, which is not an easy job. That's
but
not
he
easy.
didn't use guns to murder, right? He didn't use the 200 guns to murder.
No. In fact, how did he murder them? Cut them up. He chopped them up.
Yeah, but he had sex with them. He butchered them. He tied them up. You know,
he cut them up. He did all this.
But
but
he loved guns too.
He loved guns.
I feel like the doctor needs to join us.
And I'm sorry that I interrupted your train.
I know we usually wait, but like there's so many questions that I think need to be answered.
He's suiting up, and he's in his pod candy hazmat.
He's suiting up, not shooting up, everybody.
No, he's not shooting up. Suiting up in his pod candy hat, and so is Dori.
I'm just modeling our new pod candy merch that's on our website.
I like how you have it on the side, Dr. John. I'm going to put
Is that what I
on
did?
the side
I don't
too.
know. I just threw it on,
This is so,
at the last minute
cute.
here.
I think I'm going to take a shot of this.
Dori, you look kind of like a pirate the way you got yours on. You look kind of a pirate.
This is great.
We're all we all got except for Stacey, we all got our merch on.
Yeah, you know what? Somebody's got to be cool around here. I'm just kidding. Well, what do you think of what we've been talking about?
Oh my!
It was a very good documentary. It was a little repetitive, but
there was
good.
Thank you for bringing that up. I thought the same thing. I even wrote in my notes. I said, "Wow, they could have cut this documentary down by at least one episode."
It could have been a two-part.
Yeah,
they kept repeating some stories, and so that was throwing me. So that's why I had to take notes, because I wanted to make sure that, there were all of a sudden we go back in a loop and we'd hear the same thing again. So, but
and exactly the same thing, and exactly. It wasn't even, there wasn't even a little different take on it. It was exactly that. I'm going, come on, let's move it along here. But otherwise, a good documentary. I'm not a documentarian, and I know both of you aren't, but I'm always amazed how they get this footage of the family and their reactions. I also thought it was a little staged, where they some parts at the beginning of the documentary, they had Asa and Victoria on there.
Asa.
We're calling her Asa. Yeah, Asa.
Yeah, Asa.
I wrote it down phonetically.
And Victoria on there, and as if without the revelations that they finally knew that he actually was the serial killer. And I thought, at first I thought, okay, that's fine. But then when you hear towards the end of these episodes that they do eventually find out and admit and accept the fact that he was the serial killer, it kind of made those earlier interviews to me kind of corny and staged, like they were scripted. They were scripted to say that rather than their true responses. But that's just my comment on the documentary. But
Lori just took her hat off so she could get attention.
Yeah, and I had to too, because I look terrible in hats. I don't know why.
I do have a quick question. Did you guys get any vibe that the three of them, Asa, the son, and Victoria, that they were possibly on the autism spectrum?
Yes.
Did that come up?
Okay. I thought that they were. You remember, we don't diss victims here, but
no, but there was not a lot of emotion.
There
was not a lot of emotion from them, and
that's
what made me think that they were on the spectrum.
And rather dull.
Dull.
Yeah. Individuals.
Yes.
But
would that impact the fact that it took them so long to come to terms with the fact that he was a serial killer?
I don't think so. I really think Rex did a magnificent job of hiding his little hobby to his family. I don't think they would have gotten any clues. He was, again, he was an architect. That was part of his profession, was to, create things, build things, etc. And I did want to make note of that. That was impressed me about the documentary, pointing out, although I wish they would have went further into the fact that he, is an architect. And I went to school with architects in college, and it's amazing what they're, as Stacey was indicating, they're incredibly smart, creative individuals. That you got to think about it. They have to know every little detail of building a building, from the plumbing to the ground that it's built on, etc.
I mean, for somebody who had a basement, a kill room, in his basement, the house sure didn't look like any architect.
That's what I was going to ask. How is an architect living
in a shithole,
disheveled, dilapidated home?
Let's go into that a little bit. I do think that needs emphasis, because that was some of the first images that were portrayed of his home. And audience, his home was a shack. It was in shambles. And he's an architect, and it was in a neighborhood where the other houses were upper middle class houses, and
they looked
very
normal-ish.
nice. It wasn't like he lived in a ghetto.
Right.
And okay. Major psychological point we're going to talk about right away. People's environment and how they surround themselves in their environment is a major litmus test for what's going on inside them. That the shambles that his house was really portended to what was his psychological state and what's going on. He's a mess inside. He's a mess.
But he's living with other people, though.
I was just going to say that, Dori, but they all went along with that too. I mean, Asa didn't clean up the house, and, fix things, etc. They all lived in the same squalor that Rex, let me say, dictated. And I think that's their deficit, Victoria, Asa, and Christopher, is that they just abdicated to Rex. Rex was king. Rex was king in the house. That's why he was able to cover it up for his family.
I don't get how they didn't understand also when it came out that every date when they
were out of town.
Yeah, when they would vacation, that these murders happened, but it took them, especially Asa. And again, I do believe that Asa to this day does not fully
comprehend
what that's like. It's literal facts. Like, if I were on a jury, that's not circumstantial evidence. It's literally, yes, we have pinpointed that this person was killed on these dates. They went missing. Here's
your husband's DNA.
Yeah, your husband's DNA is on it, and you were in where is she from? Sweden?
Well, she was in Sweden, but I think she's from Iceland.
Yeah, right. Iceland, but right, they were in Sweden.
The wedding was in Sweden.
Why is it that it took them so long to even say, oh, maybe it is true?
Is it possible? I think it's the trauma. I mean, I know you have to answer, doctor, but like Asa, we find out that she's been abused, neglected. She was in foster care, and she's had massive trauma. So entering this relationship with him, notice his wife was weak, and the sex workers he considered weak because they're the dregs of society, even though, all of these women were stand-up women who were doing what they needed to do to survive. So I wouldn't call them easily manipulated, but maybe because it's a transaction, he's going to have sex with them and they're going to get money. That is why he could hook them.
But key element to these women, which we haven't talked about yet. Rex was 6'4" and like 270 pounds, a big man.
An ogre, as one said.
Yes. It looked like an ogre, the boyfriend of one of the victims said. But most importantly, all the women were 5 feet or under. They were tiny women. And
Ooh.
I think that was picked purposely by Rex, so that he could be, so dominant over the victims and easily control them. So he didn't need psychological control or horror control over them. He was so physically, massively in control.
That's interesting. I just have to say, just as a side note, I started at 5'4.25". I have now shrunk.
You could be.
I'm not 5 feet, but I'm like 5'3" right now. So
I'm like
saying,
5. I'm under 5'2".
I'm not revealing. I am not revealing how tall.
Dr. John maybe hits 3 feet at most.
You asked me, what did I think about what you both were talking about? And as usual, I'm scratching on the walls of the green room to come out. And one of the things I wanted to say, Stacey made a very interesting comment that I think is very good, leads to some good audience information. And when she said, how do you not know? Stacey might correct me when you talked about not knowing what your husband is doing. And leads me to a lesson as I work with people on a whole other dimension, in therapy, which is I really think it's okay for marital couples to have, private lives. And
you've told me that a million times.
Yeah, private lives and independent activities, but not to this extent of killing people, of course. But
it's the hobby that you have, right?
Yeah,
it's the hobby.
Right.
Like murdering is not a good hobby. Let's just lay that out.
It's not like golf or fishing might be a good hobby.
Right. And
you can have your own life. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And the other thing you both brought up was the idea of this whole thing was done on vacations when the family is gone. A couple of, first of all, not even a professional comment. What family and marriage tolerates the dad never going on vacation? It's like,
but he
what
would.
Is that about?
He may join a week later because
Right.
he has to do the killing.
That is premeditated.
It's their choice,
and it's a good reason.
And when you have a family unit that never questions that
exactly,
like, great, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. We'll go visit. We'll go shopping, and then you'll show up.
So the other aspect of this that comes to my mind of this not being on vacations is, and I'm really interested in how you both are going to react to this. There's such a little infantile aspect to that, an immature aspect. Mommy is gone, and I'm going to do something. I had a patient once. This is totally anonymous, everyone, so this is not breaking confidentiality. But this young boy, his parents would be out or something like that, and the first thing he did is run into mommy's dresser drawer and put on mommy's clothes when she was, when she was gone. And that whole idea, I'm gonna rush and sneak and I get to go and do this. There is that quality with Rex.
Well, it's such a rush. It's that rush.
It's the rush. I've experienced that.
Yeah, you get a rush.
Yeah,
I'm finally alone.
But I like being. I live alone, so I always like being.
So do I half the time.
But literally, I get very excited after I go out with friends. I can't wait to get home. So is that?
Oh, Dori, you're a creature of my own heart. We should go out together. We'd never leave. We would just sit at home in pajamas.
Are we enabling? Is there a little hobby that Dori has when she's home?
Yeah. So wait. Listen.
It's watching this shit. It's watching this shit on TV.
Just
That's on my hobby.
Me too.
Why did he stop? So he didn't murder up until 2024, whenever he was caught, right? At least we don't know that he did, but it sounded like he stopped quite a while ago. Why? And just not him, but we do hear this with other cases as well. Doctor, why do people stop, and how can you stop murdering?
Well, that's a question that's so, Dori, when you say why do people, 'cause each one of these, which we emphasize every time we study a case like this, they're all different. So we can't say why do people, but let's talk about this individual case with Rex. You're right. You both were right. It was claimed on the documentary that he stopped because he kind of got bored of it. It was like the thrill was gone, and we see that in people like Rex, that especially as Stacey pointed out, his 4-day plan, which they emphasized on the documentary, it took him 4 days in which to do his killings. Think of how almost tedious that becomes. I hate to say it, but so it's a lot of work. I'm done. I've done this, been there, done that, and that's what happened with Rex. Now we don't see that in every serial killer. They stop for other reasons. And Dori, I will say one thing in general about this. Most of the time, they stop because they feel like they're going to get caught. They're the consequences.
And I think he started feeling that way, right?
Well, they also mentioned he thought that he had it in his mind that eventually he would get caught. Rex had that in mind. Now that's different than other serial killers. They often feel like they're the smartest one in the room and they'll never get caught.
Do you ever have you ever dealt with a case, Dr. John, that somebody like a serial killer, or that or maybe not even serial, but somebody who murders, that they want to get caught? Or is it more so that they feel they're going to get caught, or they...
Dori, typically what happens is that feeling comes on after a few murders, not the first one. They don't want to get caught, and it's often it is like, what? Okay, what did I do? How am I going to get away with this, etc. But then remember, I always talk about progression, and then the next murder is like, oh, okay, So it's like you're turning around, going, all right, I did this again. Nothing's going to happen. Then there's another one. But what you're saying really comes after, you have multiple murders, and then, maybe I should just, turn myself in. They often kind of.
Well, don't you think Ted Bundy, that last murder spree he went on in the sorority house, he got really sloppy? Do you think psychologically, maybe it's not a intentional idea that I want to get caught, but psychologically, he really fucked up there?
Well, that's a brilliant point, Stacey. That's a really very brilliant point, because this is exactly what we were just talking about with Rex. With Rex, is that it gets kind of old. And so your plan gets sloppy because, I don't want to go through day 3. I don't want to go through step 3 with this one, And the other thing is, because you're not getting caught, you get kind of sloppy. It's like,
is it sloppy?
Hubris.
Isn't it also too that maybe you get too high and mighty? Like,
yes, I think
that's what Stacey just popped in with the hubris,
Hubris. They think that they can do no wrong and they can do anything.
They can just keep getting away. Literally, the term "getting away with murder." So you just
getting away with murder.
Yeah.
And I think that example is rampant at this moment.
Why do we think that Christopher, her son, not Rex's biological son, was barely in they didn't talk to him. They didn't really interview him.
I was puzzled. I was puzzled by that, Stacey, Dori. I was puzzled by that because at one point the documentarian slipped in how smart he was.
He didn't seem
was
smart.
articulate.
But I think he's on the spectrum. This is why I don't want to throw autism out there all the time, but I did get that vibe throughout, because not maybe from Asa, but definitely from Victoria and definitely from Christopher, because Asa too, they're so emotional. It
Yeah.
felt like it wasn't actually happening to them. I could feel despair from Victoria, but
yes,
it was
mostly her.
But it wasn't just like the BTK daughter, when she spoke about it, I could feel it. Like you felt it. And with the others, I didn't feel the emotion.
I
Maybe
think
because
that's
it was newer or more raw. I don't know.
I think that's a very important point, Dori, is that I felt the same way with the BTK daughter. You could see her emotion in her. And passion, and she wanted to help people.
She made it her life's work.
Help.
I mean, like, because her dad was a murderer, then her life's work has to be that.
With Asa, Victoria, Christopher, and Rex.
I'm not picking a side just yet until I see the evidence.
You said, I need to hear it in a court of law. I need to hear it at trial. Is this about protection more so than about being convinced by evidence?
The part of, me standing my ground and wanting to see the evidence first is, in a way, protecting myself. But it's protecting me. It keeps my head on straight with everything everybody is saying. One person saying this, one person saying that, prosecutors saying this, but my memory says this. So yeah, the fact that I'm standing my ground and I need to see the evidence is keeping my head on straight from all this.
Is this about self-preservation? Or is it about loyalty?
Maybe even with all this growing evidence against him, maybe there is some loyalty still to my dad and to my mom too. Like, listen, whether the world likes it or not, whether I like it or not, he's my dad. They can't take that away from me.
I don't know what acceptance looks like. Acceptance to me is just, I have to move on.
Is it possible that you can still love your dad, and he can still be your dad, but he can also be guilty? Is that possible?
I think if he was guilty, it's gonna start to become like a love-hate relationship. This is my dad, and I love him as my dad. The hate is this other side of him that came out. And going forward, I'm not gonna interact with him the same way I would have if this never happened. Both the feelings, love and hate, can coexist.
What did you think of the therapist?
I wanted not to like her.
Allison Winter. You wanted not to like her?
I wanted not to like her, but then she was okay. But
yeah.
I have an important note I wrote about that. How do I explain this? We as psychologists, therapists, psychiatrists, social workers, we are mandated reporters. And this is what bothered me. Again, thank you for bringing this up, because I almost forgot this point. I didn't want to like her when she first appeared, but I said, she's competent. She's good. She's good at what she does. But then came this moment that Rex confessed to her the murders before he confessed while this whole investigation, trial, and everything was going on. She knew early on that he did the murders because he confessed to her. You're a mandated reporter. That the laws of confidentiality and HIPAA do not apply when it comes to hurting someone.
Wait, but is that a fact though? I don't remember
I listened to that.
I thought it was because the attorney had brought her on. So I think it was after the fact.
No. What I'm saying, Dori, that's true.
With the confession. Oh, but yeah, you're right. The confession. You are right.
He did not
John
confess. He let this thank you, Stacey. He let this go on and on and on as if he was innocent. And he let this whole procedure build and build for a long, long time. And the whole time the therapist is sitting there going, he confessed to me. She should have had the obligation to disclose that to the
Yeah,
police
I
and to
thought
the
it
judge.
was. I though took it as kind of a okay. He's going to confess. Like he confessed to me. He's going to confess. Now he wants to tell his family, and then so it was like a short thing, not like this drawn out where she knew for a year or something like that.
I
Like the
think she knew
therapist
for
knew.
what I got
You
out of
do?
this. What I got out of this is she knew for a long time
But
that
then why would she go on a documentary? She would get her license revoked, wouldn't she? If she's
um,
confessing to knowing about this and that she didn't report a murder?
I think
That she
that's
didn't report that
suspect.
he
I don't know. I can't speak to what New York would do about that, but to me, that was a violation of, our mandated reporting
Yeah,
laws.
I felt frustration from the therapist. I felt a lot of frustration, and because you John are a psychiatrist. You're a human being. Like there, you have to have emotion, and I felt because I know I was struggling with it as well, like with Asa, like you want to shake her, you want to
Yeah,
be like,
yeah.
your
Yeah.
husband
If
is a
she,
murderer. Did you guys get a little sense of that the therapist was kind of like getting to her, or did you guys not sense that?
I
And
didn't
she was just
necessarily
doing her
sense that,
job.
but I felt, well, there were times when I sensed that, but I felt that Asa, her ability to really not believe it until he told her, and then the therapist set up meetings with both Victoria and Rex and Asa and Rex, and I got so that they could believe him. Victoria immediately was like, okay, I'm understanding. Just because you admit that you think something's true doesn't see. I feel that Asa can't admit it because there's something in her that says, if I do, my life was a sham, or my life is nothing, if I admit it. So if I don't admit it, I can hold on to what I thought it was, even though I know the confession. My question is, why can't she say, I know he's a terrible person. I know he did all these things. I really can't subscribe to this. I mean, why is the guy keep getting attention?
But I
Why does
still love him. But she could
I
still
still love
say it
him?
like that. Like, yes,
Yeah,
I
I just
know
don't
he's
get it.
done this. But yeah, when does she get to that point, John? Does she ever get to that point?
Yeah, exactly.
Probably in Asa's case, probably not, because she doesn't resolve the cognitive dissonance.
No,
We
it's like
discussed this a little
crazy.
bit. It reminds me of a discussion we had, and we were tongue in cheek when we said this in one of our episodes. Remember when we talked about getting out of prison? That one case where the person got out of prison and all his family there, and
Oh yeah,
and they're
to say
hugging and they're
to say
happy and
hello.
stuff. And remember the discussion we had? We all talked about, hey, if
Yeah,
you got out of prison, I wouldn't be like
yeah.
going hugging you and joy.
Nobody wanted to hug me.
Yeah, you're still an asshole that killed people and did horrible things. I don't think I'd feel like hugging you. And I know both of you had different views on that, but that's what we call cognitive dissonance. And that term was actually used in the documentary, not necessarily right. But the resolve of cognitive dissonance is that you can resolve the fact in your brain that somebody can be somebody you love and like, but they do bad things. They or do to make mistakes. We all, as we grow up, need to resolve cognitive dissonance, and typically it's with our parents. We think of our parents as these, ideal people. When we're tiny and small, they're wonderful, and the whole world is our parents. And then all of a sudden, we start to see cracks on, like, you know, mom, is sloppy, or dad drinks a little too much beer, or likes MMA or whatever. And we go, well, that doesn't kind of fit with and we resolve that because it helps us to grow ourselves and understand what life is about, that you can have different disparate parts of your personality. Asa is not resolving that.
But why? But doesn't she feel a little bit like she says the person she knew was this loving, wonderful person.
Yeah.
But obviously that can't be true, can it? Can it be
Well,
true?
thank you. Because yes, I wanted to jump on that point because here's a clue that I pick up. I think I said this in one of our early episodes. One of the things I like is to see pictures of the perpetrators and these killers and stuff. It tells me a lot. And if you think about all the pictures of Rex in this documentary with the family, there's always no smile. I think there was only one picture where he smiled. And also that it was a very small part of the documentary where that he got interviewed because he was an architect and the guy came and interviewed. And do you remember at the end of the interview, the guy was let's take a selfie. And the interviewer has a big smile and he goes, Rex, can you smile? And Rex is there with his mouth, like sour and going, this is a smile, like a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
My point is that, look, I don't think this whole happy family thing, it was a delusion that Asa needed to believe in because of her abuse and the horrible situation she went through, which I don't think we need to take time in our episode to describe that, but she had a horrible upbringing. She was in foster homes and adopted and et cetera, et cetera.
I do think one of the points that, one, they didn't seem to go down to his kill room. It did sound like that was kind of off limits, right? Like that
they weren't allowed in there.
Right.
Rex
was
made
like
it
a boundary. Right. So that was a boundary that was set up by him.
But a cover for the 270 guns.
Right. And one would maybe question that. But also, just on a different tangent, I do think one of the things, what is the BTK's daughter's name? What is her name? Does anybody remember her name?
I'm going to look it up. Look it up.
She made a point that she is an advocate of when the FBI does go in and raid homes, that they do nothing about it and that the family suffers. Like, yes, they lived in kind of a shanty to begin with, but the FBI did raid their home and broke things and threw things around. And Asa and Victoria, like they weren't the ones who murdered. They did not know about it. They did not do anything, but they're the ones that have to suffer.
That was awful.
Isn't that, I do think that's awful. A good point to say that in the future, like that needs to be a lot, because it's not just them. It obviously happens every time the FBI goes in and raids. Why isn't there a mandate that they have to give money or clean up or something has to be done?
I agree with you. That was so sad. And to destroy their house and just not give a shit and wreck everything and have these two victims sitting there. 3, I should say.
3.
Yeah, sorry, Don.
Have either one of you ever had an electrician come and do some electrical work in your house or condo? Or
yes. Yeah.
Did you ever notice how they leave wires on the floor and debris and they don't sweep up?
No, because when I had when I fixed up my kitchen and my bathroom, my contractor, they cleaned up all that shit. Like that was part of the agreement.
Well, you have a very unusual contract.
Don't leave me. You're not sticking up for the. I get it that but there is no reason why the FBI as a whole should not clean up a home or give money to say, yes, we raided your home, but why should
I
they
think you make
break
an excellent I think you make an excellent point. But I will say in my experience, and I work with these people closely, they just, it's called tossing. They'll just toss this house and they're not there to be tidy.
I get it. And I totally understand it. I get it. I'm not saying they shouldn't. They should. But I think what the BTK daughters, what her reaction was, is then the people left behind suffer. The family then is living with all of their stuff broken and no, but there
I'm
is
not,
And their beds torn apart.
I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying that, that, yeah, maybe they should have a cleanup service come and help
The
these people.
fixer. They need a
But
fixer.
Asa remodeled the house after Rex has been in
It
jail.
still looked the same.
Well, it does still look
what
the
was
same.
different
Again,
about it?
that
Basement was still a
chaos,
mess.
the shambles, which again portends to what's inside these people, the chaos inside of them. But here's an amazing, I think, shocking fact. Did you catch that after everything was remodeled, she remodeled so her bedroom was in the killing room?
Yeah.
She now sleeps in the killing room.
At the end, the last episode.
Is that a full circle? See, I was waiting for her to say, I want to connect with
Why
these women.
do you think that she, like, what is that she did, that she knew what she was
Pathological?
doing, obviously.
I think it really talks to her dysfunction herself.
That she just
was
loves
to
him
me
so much.
bizarre.
Yeah.
And if she's still working with that therapist, I would have jumped up and down if I was their therapist and say, "What are you thinking?" You know?
Well, and the other thing is, it's like I feel like she was in there because she wants to be close. She wants to be close to him.
She said something like that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it was kind of like a full circle.
Connection.
It made her feel safe and
I
protected.
wonder, how does she make money now? Like, how do they make money as a family, do you think?
Yeah, I wonder.
Probably Airbnb.
That's funny.
Would want to stay in that place. I thought that. Remember, I almost always bring up in some of these episodes, even with the urine drinking yoga people, how, who's footing the bill for them to travel all over the world to go to yoga classes, and here who's footing the bill for, first of all these attorneys,
legal, psychiatry,
and how are they still living?
Yeah,
how are they still living? Yeah,
I don't. Yeah,
it was fascinating. And the other one thing I'll just add to that is the harassment when these people show up at the courthouse from the press sucks. You're not going to get an answer. Stop screaming at this kid. The lawyer is saying we'll answer later. These people have suffered, and regardless of what people think of the family, it's not fair to do that to them. They looked so beaten down, didn't they?
Oh yeah. That's a great point, Stacey.
I just felt so bad.
I can't imagine, going into court and you have these reporters screaming. And you're right. Do they really think that they're going to get an answer from?
No, they just want, like, it's like vultures.
Yeah, it's
rude.
It's a bizarre circus that happens.
I just hope that the kids, like, that's the thing. I think personally, Asa's kind of a lost cause in terms of, like, she seems like a fine human being. Whatever she can do and think whatever she wants to do, she's not hurting anybody, but she may be hurting the children. Like, I'm wondering,
and it's a family trauma,
what the relationship is, and like how Christopher and Victoria can truly move on if you have a mother who isn't in that reality, that maybe even like, I didn't get the sense at all from Asa that she didn't even address it, that it was, I think she made a couple comments like, yes, I feel bad for the victim. She did say that, but it was and maybe it was the way that it was edited, but it was such a small portion. Wouldn't you want to hear, like, like, my heart goes out.
I know, me too.
Can I bring us back to, again, visuals that you see? Think of the phone calls that she had with Rex after she accepted the fact that he was.
Hi, dear. Yes.
Are you going to bed?
Smile.
I forgot to say goodnight.
Did you brush your teeth? Yes, dear.
And a big smile and like excitement. That was the only excitement you ever saw.
She's really, it's like a
anything he gave her, it was like candy to her. Ha! But you know what I mean? It was like candy. Like, she was like,
but
that's
how
what she
do
gets.
Kids, how do you have a relationship with the kids if the children maybe are realizing that, their father is this horrific person? Like, or is it just, you just like, how do you do like, oh, we just do Thanksgiving, this is normal, we just don't talk about it? Like that just doesn't seem like a healthy type of family unit with any of them.
Well, I think you said a mouthful right there. I want to make a point, which I think is our mandate here on Pod Candy, of what's behind Rex. We haven't really talked, and you guys haven't. Guys, remember, I'm trying not to say guys. You both didn't ask me what makes this guy, and I think there were clues. I think there were clues in the documentary of how this all came about, and I really want to say that. And here's the clues. They again, this documentary didn't do a great job of giving us the background with Rex and how he's developed. Just a little bit of snippets, but I put those snippets together to come to the following analysis, and I think it's very important for our audience. Remember, his father was abusive physically, emotionally, cold, horrible father. And they made a point, and I agree, he grew up in anger. And then as a young boy, he discovered porn. And he put the two together. Porn and being angry. His relief was porn, and vile porn, even as a kid, while he was in these states of anger. So what you have created here is the connection between sexual relief and tension and violence and anger. Then you have the perfect formula for creating a Rex Heuermann.
That's so good. Thank you for saying that. That is very true. Yeah, that's the most important, I think, information.
Yes.
Well, and I think as a closure to that concept, a little lesson in parenting here, which is, it's so easy as a parent to be a bully and abusive to your kids, to control them. It's hard to be a parent. And parents often, some of these parents, these inappropriate parents, use anger, yelling, meanness to control their kids. And look at the result. With that, instead of
look at the result of an extreme religious upbringing, extreme, anti, women, anti-feminism, anti-abortion, anti-LGBTQ, anti-everything. Then these kids grow up in these cults, then they can't relate, and they do go to porn. It's the first thing they go to.
Yeah.
And then it escalates from there.
And let me say another thing, and maybe it's very personal to me. One of my heroes in the field appeared in this documentary.
Oh, I forgot to talk about John Douglas.
John Douglas, who
he's great.
He really started the whole field of forensic psychology.
My brother Alex interviewed him.
Yes. And now,
he's an amazing man.
You both talked about the therapist and how her manner was. Look at the difference between her and the absolute guru in this field, John Douglas.
At
1000%.
Emotion,
human. And by the way, that's how I come across when I deal with these killers and people. I'll call them out, and I'll sit there with them and go, really? You really did that? A killer I interviewed about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And while he was in an interview, he started telling a story about a baby mama that he was involved in. And he talked about calling her on the phone. And I asked him how those phone calls went. And he was abusive and bitchy and misogynist with this baby mama, which she says, I want to be a good dad to my kid. And I just called him out right there and said, buddy, do you hear how you're talking to this woman? Mm-hmm. And you want her to wait for you if you get out? You want her to be a mother and a cooperative parent with your child? And this is the way you talk to
delusional.
Her on the phone?
It's delusional.
That's how you treat these people.
Yeah.
Not just.
Not like, you get to call your wife and you get to say goodnight. You get to be coddled and
I got to be neutral. I got to, just smile and be neutral, etc.
everyone for listening. Please listen to our next episode, The Yogurt Shop Murders.
If you love our podcast, consider donating any amount to buymeacoffee.com/podcandy. Every bit helps us keep creating the true crime, cult, and pop culture stories you can't stop listening to.
So people can buy us a cup of coffee?
Our theme music is written and performed by Midnight Current. Check out more of their work on SoundCloud. For more about us and to catch up on every episode of Pod Candy, head over to podcandypodcast.com. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.
Pod Candy!